Tahirah Dean is a staff attorney at Legal Aid of Marin in their housing program. Since graduating law school in 2016, she has served the immigrant community in the private sector in Boston and Dallas. She now has returned to the Bay Area to pursue her passion for housing justice. So we want to thank Tahirah for being here with us today and talking about this very important topic. And so now you may begin your presentation.
Wonderful. Let me just share my screen. All right, hi everyone. My name is Tahirah Dean from Legal Aid of Marin. I'm really happy to be with you all this morning, or actually this afternoon now. So I'm happy to answer any and all questions after the presentation. If there's something extremely very important for a certain slide, very relevant, then feel free to ask it in the chat, and I'm happy to take a pause and answer during the presentation. So we are focused on a lot of different things at Legal Aid of Marin, but one of the things that I'm focused on is housing. But in addition, Legal Aid of Marin also provides assistance to the community with community court. So if anyone has a traffic ticket, they want to get wiped off their record, they can go to community court and through us, and we can help with that. We help seniors with planning trust and estates issues that they may have. We help individuals with employment law. Particularly, we help those that do not have status, that are afraid to, and fight for their rights to be able to be paid. We're helping those individuals right now. And then, of course, housing law. This presentation is for you, so feel free to take pictures throughout. And we will also be sending around these slides if anyone needs them. So in August of this year, Governor Newsom created a new law. It's called Covid-19 Tenant Relief Act of 2020, also known as AB 3088, which provides a little bit of relief for renters during the pandemic. So a tenant cannot be evicted for non-payment of rent between March 1st, 2020, the start of the pandemic, through January 31st, 2021, if they meet the certain requirements that we're going to talk about today. This applies to all renters, including individuals that are just renting one room in a house or in an apartment. It applies to individuals that are renting from, that are subleasing. Many different scenarios. Anyone who's renting, this law is for you. So before an eviction takes place in court, a landlord or a master tenant, someone who's subleasing their place, must provide a tenant with a 15-day notice to pay or quit. This notice looks something like this. When clients come to us, they're usually bringing notices that the landlord has, trying to initiate eviction proceedings, but it's just a few sentences saying, I'm going to end your tenancy. You have 30 days. That is completely unlawful. That's why we do, request that people come directly to us or to other attorneys so that we can vet the notice. There's specific language that needs to be in there, and it has to have a certain form. Or else the entire notice process needs to be restarted. And so that can allow more people to have more time in their home before the action gets taken to court. And so with the new law, Governor Newsom has created a way for tenants to get the information through the landlord specifically. So the landlord, number one, needs to provide this 15-day eviction notice, along with a notice of tenant rights and a blank declaration saying that the person has been affected by COVID-19 in some manner. And so let me just show you that declaration really quick. I think I have to go out of this. Can you guys see it at all? No, you can't. Okay. Let me see. So can you see it now? So this is the declaration that you can find on our website, but it's a standard declaration saying, you know, I've been affected by COVID-19 in some way, loss of income directly, I'm caring for someone that has COVID-19, I'm taking care of my children, so that's impacted my ability to work. The reasons, this whole related circumstance of how you're connecting it to COVID-19 can be somewhat creative. So we definitely do tell people, don't be shy to use this as a way to protect yourself. Let me put this back on. Okay. So once you are able to give that declaration to your landlord, that's automatically, you're protected from being evicted, until January 31st. In addition to that new declaration that's in place, this new law has said that evictions must include a reason, a just cause for the eviction. Prior to this law, landlords had more ability to say, I just want you out. They didn't have to give a reason, but now they definitely do. There are a few exceptions, however, where no real causes needs to be given. Here are some of the reasons why an eviction can still take place. For criminal acts that are on the property or pertaining to the individual, lease violations, explicit in the lease, owner intends to occupy the unit. So the owner is saying, I'm going to have my family move back in. There's no way around that. They can do that. Withdrawal from the rental market. So they're going to take the property completely off the rental market. It's just going to, it's going to sit there for a while. No one's going to move in. Or red tag. So that means that the property is not
something might have. Not sure what happened. Maybe.
Reach out to her.
Sorry, everyone. Just a minor inconvenience. Maybe her cat pushed a button because she did say that her cat would start messing around.
So as we get Tahirah back online, for anybody who has any current questions on the topic around housing and how you can support or whatnot, feel free to start adding it to the chat, and happy to start kind of jotting down some questions. I'm getting a few around how to share this information with families who are not connected with specific organizations. So if you have any questions, feel free to just send them over to us. But also, if you yourself have resources, if you are coming from a nonprofit organization that's based to support communities, I think of Canal Alliance, so on and so forth, feel free to start putting them on the chat. One of the things that we want to do is just let our families and communities members know what resources are out there for them. And so that will be very helpful. And here we go.
All right, she's coming in, everyone.
I am so sorry, it kicked me off. I don't know, it's still not letting me on. Let me forward you my PowerPoint so you can share my slides, because now I'm on my phone. So sorry.
Okay.
Um,
Will you be sending it to Monica's email or?
yes.
Okay. Monica, feel free to share your screen. I've given like Zoom permission.
And thank you for the questions that are coming in. I'll be jotting them down.
Okay, I did send it.
It wouldn't be a Zoom call if there was no technical difficulties.
Definitely that.
This sums up the year of 2020 right now.
Did my email go through, Monica?
Yeah.
Taking a while to open up, but I have it up here. Okay. Do you guys see my screen share?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not my internet, because it let me send the email, but I guess Zoom just kicked me off.
We're back now. All right.
Okay, so we're on the next screen. Keep going. Okay, yeah, so and then the next screen. So yeah, you need a just cause reason in order for there to be an eviction. One of these reasons, and generally, you know, mispayment of rent is not part of, is not going to get you evicted during this time. Next slide. Okay, and so from March to August, all you need to do is submit that declaration for their mispayment of rent. They will start to be able to take people to small claims court to collect that those mispayments. We always remind people that, you know, if you do end up in court, you always can counterclaim. We're seeing a lot of people have issues having repairs not fulfilled. So if the apartment or the house is in any way like a bad shape, you know, something that has you know, makes it uninhabitable, that is a defense for not paying rent. And so we just remind people to keep everything in writing in terms of repair requests. And take pictures of these, you know, faulty, you know, leaks, any broken floorboards, anything that could lead to some type of defense. Next. Okay, and so this is the really important part about, and it gets a little bit tricky for some people. Between September and January, those mispayments, you're still going to submit that declaration, but you also need to keep track of the amount of money that has to go with that. You have to pay 25% of the mispayments between those months of September to January. So it's not that you have to pay 25% of your rent every single month. It's just that by January 31st, you need to calculate the mispayments times, you know, the 25%. And so we do have an example. Say your rent is $1,000 per month. then the total owed during that time will be $5,000 for September through January. You must pay $1,250 by January 31st, 2021 in order to avoid eviction. And your landlord may still go to small claims court, even if you're paying that 25%, because once again, it's not free rent. We do also remind people to be very clear about if you are doing a specific amount of, say you are paying per month, because for some people that might be the better situation. Like, let me just clear some of it off of my debt instead of paying at the end. On the check, be clear to write what month you're paying it towards. So you're paying 25% for September, no, in the memo section, 25% for September. Or if you're paying at the end, indicate all of the months where there is mispayment, so that if you do and have to end up in court, you will be able to show the judge, what you were paying for and when. Next slide. So what do you do if you receive a 15-day notice? First of all, we tell people, do not leave your home. There's a great misconceptions that the police are going to come, if you're on the 16th day, I need to leave immediately. They're going to put my stuff on the side of the road. It's going to be humiliating. No, in reality, that doesn't happen immediately. The landlord has to go through the court process. The 15-day notice is just to alert you that the eviction process is beginning, but they cannot call the police until there is something called an unlawful detainer that goes through court, and that says that the person has to leave. So, we suggest that even if the landlord doesn't provide you with the declaration with that 15-day notice, that you're still going online on our website at legalaidmarin.org, printing out the declaration for yourself, signing and dating it, and then giving that to your landlord. That will, just having that declaration on file with the landlord will protect you from being evicted. And then of course, at the end of January, paying that 25% if you missed between September and January. That is another layer to it that will protect you as well. We are telling people to make sure that they keep a signed a copy of this, either with your phone or make it, a scanned copy, so that you have it on record, so that if the landlord is playing games, that what you submitted to them and when you submitted it. You will say for December, you receive this 15-day notice, and you have followed the procedure of submitting the declaration, and then January 1st comes, you still can't pay again. You're going to receive most likely another 15-day notice, and you'll just do the process over again. You'll submit the declaration once more, and that's on file. For each month, it's the same process. Next slide. So once again, there's a lot of misconception around what the landlord can and cannot do. The landlord, without that judgment from court, without the unlawful detainer, the judge signing off saying this is a valid eviction, it's going through, the landlord cannot lock you out of your home. They can threaten to call ICE on you. They can't threaten to call sheriffs. They cannot cut off your utilities. They can't take away any services that are provided in your lease. Like, even, for example, something as minor as parking, they can't take that away if that's in your lease. They cannot harass, threaten you, or do any other behavior to force you to move out. They can't also ask for any additional proof. With this law, it doesn't ask for additional proof about why you can't pay your income. It just asks for that declaration, saying, with your signature on the line, saying that you can't pay the rent because of the circumstances created by this pandemic. No additional financial documentation is required. And if they ask that of you, they are violating the law. If anyone has, or you you or someone that you know has experienced any harassment of any sort, we do ask that you call us so that we can work on this. Generally, our first line of defense is sending demand letters, telling the landlord, what the law says that they can and cannot do. And usually that stops it right dead in the tracks, and we don't even have to proceed to court. A lot of people are nervous about going to court, and we try to resolve it before it even gets to that point. And just having an attorney sign on a letterhead, spelling out what can and cannot happen, it helps immensely. It really, really helps. Next slide. Okay, so a few times I did mention master tenants. And for those that don't know, a master tenant is someone that's renting directly from the landlord, but they're going to sublease their apartment or their room or their house to someone else. So the master tenant and then the subtenant, they have a relationship that's just the same in the eyes of the law as the relationship between the landlord and that master tenant who has, the master tenant has their name on the lease. They have to act as a landlord and provide the same type of protections in terms of eviction protection as the landlord. So what if I pay rent and or have a lease with the master tenant? What's going to happen? So once again, the obligations are the same. That master tenant needs to provide you with the 15-day notice, the tenant's notice of their rights, and that declaration. They have to go through that same process of eviction notice, and then they have to file in court. What if my master tenant stops paying rent? So that's why it's really important for you to keep every record of who you're paying and when you're paying that. At that point, you can try to go directly to the landlord, and so that you can start to set up a relationship between yourself and the landlord. It does get a little gray because at that point you're outing yourself. That could be lease violations for the master tenant. But if they're not paying the rent anymore, you need to create that relationship. So we usually direct clients and show them how that they can start that new relationship with the landlord. So you can just take your declaration and submit it directly to that landlord if the master tenant is trying to dip out of the situation. And once again, what if my master tenant abandons the unit completely? You're still a tenant by law. The landlord must go through the court process to have you evicted. A landlord is not obligated to enter into a lease with you, but once again, you can try. And we definitely counsel individuals on how to start that relationship. But we just like people to know that no matter what happens, you're going to be protected by the law because that master tenant has become the landlord. Even if the lease says that they weren't allowed to have subtenants, you're still protected. Next. Okay, so unfortunately, we are hearing about a lot of rent increases that are going on, even despite the pandemic, even despite people, not being able to pay rent. Apartments are still increasing, landlords are increasing the rent, and these are, for the most part, still legal. If it's over a certain percentage, like 10%, that could be considered gouging, and that percentage is illegal during a state of emergency, as pretty much we are in right now. A rent increase over 6% could also potentially violate state law. We have to look at this from a case-by-case situation. So we definitely tell people to calculate the percent increase that you've received, and if it's over 6%, come to talk to us anyway. If it's over 10%, then definitely we're trying to intervene with writing letters to the landlords and trying to negotiate that down and point out that it's gouging. It's definitely a tricky area, depending, especially for we're working with people with affordable housing. Those if it's like Section 8 rental increases, that's one thing that's easier to be able to point out the illegality. But if it's something for like it's a LIHTC housing situation, it's harder to point out that there has been wrongdoing there. But we definitely look at each case and see what we can do. Next slide. Okay. A lot of our clients, people in the community, especially those without status, undocumented individuals, they are afraid of public charge, which is a category of inadmissibility, which makes you ineligible for a green card. For those petitioning through their family members, it's very, very limited. This public charge category, and it was, it's something that's been done in the last administration. That's made it especially scary for individuals. The misconception around public charge is that you can't get any legal help, any free services, no government benefits, and none of that, or else you're automatically going to not qualify for a green card. Once again, that's not true. These are a few of the areas where public charge specifically does not apply and does not affect a person. There are other areas that we can talk to individuals about, but first and foremost, accepting help to pay your rent from nonprofit organizations that are giving free rental assistance right now, that does not affect someone's eligibility for a green card. Applying for CalFresh, which is the food stamps, is not affecting public charge. Seeking emergency medical care, that is completely fine as well. And getting free COVID testing, that is 100% okay, as well as receiving free legal aid from organizations like Legal Aid of Marin. And so we really need to, help people understand that it's okay to get free legal help and take advantage of these opportunities and these protections without it endangering your status in the US. Next. So here are a few additional resources on our website, and then the County of Marin themselves, they have a great website full of FAQs and different tidbits to help both landlords and tenants alike. They also have a really great YouTube channel, which we partnered recently with them to provide more information to people in video format. Next. Okay, so people, of course, want to know where they can get direct help paying the rent. And here are a few organizations that are giving out money. And they had a bit of a waiting period in the last few months because they received a lot of grants, and now they are not able to, they haven't been able to give out any more money because they ran out basically. But there has been new money that has come in. People do have to get back on waiting lists, but they are able to provide that 25% for individuals that qualify, households qualify. And then sometimes they're even able to just provide an entire month's rent. And so it's really, really amazing that the work that they're doing. But right now it is a transition period. And so we do warn people that there's a waiting list. Next. So I'm sure you're wondering what's going to happen after January 31st of this year when this law expires. And we're wondering that as well. We're really hoping that a new proposed legislation brought by Assemblyman David Chu is going to pass. And so he's proposing that we take the same protections in AB 3088 and extend them through December 31st of next year. So tenants would still have to pay that 25% of their total rent by that deadline, but the landlords would not be able to begin evictions until 2022 without just cause. Another side point is that even if this bill doesn't get extended, the new bill doesn't get passed, there are still going to be protections coming. We're hearing about great protections coming at the county level. The Board of Supervisors are considering extending the moratorium locally. They want to really protect the residents of Marin, and so they're also looking at freezing rent increases and potentially freezing, rent to a certain extent as well. Many different options are being discussed right now, but nothing's concrete. So this is a slide of what what we hope for, what could be, but there's nothing officially on the record right now. Next. So just to conclude, it's really important that people understand about that declaration that can be found on our website, legalaidmarin.org. It should be given by the landlord, but if it's not, it's the same declaration, same content is found in other places, for example, like on our website. That needs to be, given each month that missed rent payment is happening. 25% of missed payments for the months of September through January need to be given by January 31st of 2021 in order to be protected, to not be evicted. We emphasize that people have rights, tenants have rights, even during this time. Do not be afraid to ask for help. We're here as a source, even if people don't qualify for our services, because you do have to be below a certain income bracket. We do provide resources at a general level of advice, or we do referrals for other people. So we are here to be a helpful source in the community. And the next slide does have our information again. So that's our general phone number, but I put my email directly on there so that you can pass it around to anyone that needs help, that it doesn't necessarily want to go through the whole process, intake process. I'm happy to answer questions directly by email. We do take online appointments. We're starting to do remote clinics. Hopefully we'll have that in January for everyone, so that we can be able to provide that face-to-face service. Whereas, before we used to have walk-in clinics, but now we're hoping to do that virtually. But we also do have a great intake process through the phone, so we can get all the information down and set up a time to call people back once our legal assistants take all their information. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of that great information. I have a couple of questions that came my way, but anybody who's interested in asking a question, feel free to push the little raise hand button. I'm happy to have you speak and ask your question directly. And so a couple of things that have come up from right now is, in the event that a landlord does not respond to a letter of tenants' rights, what are the consequences if they don't comply with the law, and how will this be enforced?
Yeah, so there, the next step, if there's, it depends, right? We send the demand letter, and so, for example, would the persons be saying, like, if they are trying to evict them, for example, if it, say we call out that the notice is unlawful, it's defective, what's the next step if they're like, nope, we're still going to evict you, their next step is only to go to court, and we tell the tenant to just wait, and you don't have to leave. If the landlord is hostile, we do definitely suggest that they start to look for new housing. Ultimately, if the landlord wants them out, they're going to find their way to court and to do that. But we tell people, like, you have as much time to stay in your home as possible. If there's other issues, like I said, for like habitable issues, a flooding, overflowing toilet that's been there for weeks and weeks. We've had that situation. We will threaten to legal action, and then we'll start a process, help the person file an action in court ourselves, and start it that way. But if it's eviction, then we counsel the person to be able to stay as long as they need to until they find alternative housing. And wait for that unlawful detainer to come from court, and then we help them do the court process as well.
Awesome, thank you. And this next question might be similar answer, but I think Lisa asked a really good one around what if a landlord doesn't give a tenant a 15-day notice to quit? Should the tenant submit a declaration and 25% rent of each month missed rent anyway, or what is the recommendation that's being shared?
Yes. So if the landlord is giving a verbal eviction notice, which is unlawful, but say they are, you definitely, the individual needs to present that declaration immediately, and they can wait on the 25% until the end of January. But yes, they should submit the declaration immediately.
Awesome. So definitely we're opening up for questions. I don't know if anybody has any immediate questions right now. I think what comes to our minds right now that you highlighted around our board of supervisors are doing whatever they can to get something moving. Does your office happen to know of an estimate of when a resolution, or notice will be coming up and what our community can prepare for?
No, not really. I'm in the next few weeks, definitely in January, but we have no idea the timeline. Yeah, hopefully, we'll be able to get that information out there. Especially if you guys are part of our newsletter, we would have that type of information that comes out regularly.
Awesome. Definitely would love to kind of hear from others as much as I love to speak. If you have a question, please feel free to ask. I think yes, Linda, go ahead.
I have a question about if someone does lose their housing. I live in downtown San Rafael, and every now and then, for the first time ever, I see Latinos sleeping somewhere downtown. And I'm just wondering what the rules are for, if there are problems with the camping. Is there are they liable for being picked up for camping? And then what kind of shelter there is for people who do lose their housing?
Yeah, it's really a tricky situation. I'm not personally up to date on all of the homeless issues that are going on in the community. I'm fairly new to legal aid and to Marin myself, but we do have a really great relationship with those organizations that I listed, Ritter and all of those other ones that are specifically helping the homeless population. And yeah, our line of defense is really to prevent that, prevent anyone from getting down that path. But yeah, definitely, we are always supporting new initiatives in the community for expanded housing. And recently there was an issue about people were protesting a new housing, a motel that was getting converted into housing, and a homeless shelter basically. And there was a lot of problems, and we definitely spoke up at one of the meetings to make sure that it's supported, and that all the critics' questions get completely, they're put down in terms of not being logical at all, and their fears being unwarranted. But yeah, it's definitely scary to see homeless populations growing at all.
I think one of the pieces that comes to our mind for us who work in education, a lot of the times our families' only contact with resources are what they see, dropping off their kids or communication with their teachers. How is information such as this disseminated within the schools? And if there's anything that we can do as a community to elevate those messages?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. We're trying to build up our coalitions of people that are connected to the boards on school boards, parent kind of led organizations, or teachers that are trying to bring different resources into the classroom for their students, for their students' parents, basically. Yeah, we're trying to be creative about how we're getting the message out into the community. We have YouTube videos that we've created that we're hoping people share. We have a social media where we're trying to do Facebook Lives every Monday. And we have flyers that we just disseminate at food banks. And so we're just trying to figure out the best ways to get the information out. But we definitely would, are taking any ideas and advice that you guys have, because it is hard. A lot of people don't know about this information. I think another good thing is just having our number out there in the public, because people do call us a fair amount, and then that's when they're hearing the information from the first time about these protections. So yeah, it's kind of a work in progress in terms of getting it out there.
Ugo, I can add to that. I posted in the process that San Rafael City Schools has for organizations to put out flyers. I know every time I get one from Legal Aid, I forward it to our public information officer and I say, can we get this out? But there's a whole process, as you can imagine. It has to be bilingual, needs to be a registered organization, and I put in the link to how to do that. And it doesn't have to go to every school. It can go to certain schools, but it's a way that we can publicize to our, we have 7,000, well, it's just elementary, so it's for 4,000 kids. Over half of them are immigrant children. So, but it's a way we can get the information out.
Okay.
I wish it was easy. I wish you could do all of them. We know that there are people renting across the county, and I know that you really put out a lot of flyers. I see it in different venues. So,
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Linda. Definitely. I know we've had some other connections from other school districts. So if you have any resources on that spaces, please drop it on the chat or email it to us. We're happy to send it out to everybody in our email list. But definitely would love to see if anybody else has questions, or Tahirah, if you can share with us anything that we can take away of, top 3 things we can do to share information with our families, our community. Any around that space will be helpful.
Yeah, so we do have material that that you can physically share with people, and that I'll send out to you. It's FAQs and a housing list, with a bite-sized information about everything that was said in the PowerPoint, basically. But we also are asking people to write their personal stories about how right now your housing situation, if you've been affected by the pandemic, the difficulties you're facing negotiating with your landlord and whatnot. So we're providing these letters to the Board of Supervisors so that they can increase their protections that we're mentioning. And we're looking forward to them providing us for next month. But in the meantime, we are just trying to flood them with these stories of real people. So if you guys, or anyone that has stories, they can be anonymous, but we're collecting them, and I can tell you, exactly like what needs to go into the letter. It can be a paragraph, just so we can. So that they can understand that there's real people being affected by the pandemic and not just numbers, which is what we usually give them. We're just trying to put, kind of stories or names if people want with these numbers.
Ugo,
And,
excuse me, Ugo, I would like to ask Tahirah about the Marin Community Foundation. Are you working with them? Because I understand that they have a economic package, for for relief, to renters. Do you know anything about this?
Marin Community Foundation. I'm not sure. Maybe one of my colleagues is working with them currently, but I will definitely check on that. If they're providing rental assistance, is that it?
That's what I heard, that they had an economic package, for rental relief.
Yeah, they probably are in one of our working groups that we have, a rental assistance group that we work with each week with different organizations. But I'll definitely check on that.
Thank you.
I can speak to that if that's the right time. I'm with the Marin Community Foundation.
Oh, please.
Hi, thanks everyone. This is Patty Watchin with MCF, and yes, certainly we're a longtime supporter of legal aid, and also, as you say, Yolanda, are working with our local nonprofits on rental assistance in partnership with the county. So that's funding that's given directly to the nonprofits that are in a position to distribute those funds. So the rental assistance groups that Tahirah referred to are supported by MCF.
Thank you.
Tahirah, I look forward to a face-to-face conversation someday soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm new to LAM. So
Absolutely.
players in this this great game of helping the community. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And so a question just came up around how can a community member or someone who's not really connected with organizations directly with housing protections get involved? Whether that's an additional organization who's on the call or with LAM directly.
So LAM does take volunteers, and we're always taking volunteers. So definitely, if you want to help directly with us in different capacities, feel free to call us or email, and we'll get you set up with that. And then, yeah, I mean, donating obviously is always very helpful, either to these organizations that are providing direct rental assistance, or to our organization as well. That's always something, a surefire way, or just helping to facilitate connections, between us and other organizations, so we can, or individuals to get the information out there. That's always a really great help.
I have a question, Tahirah, and you may have already covered this or someone brought it up. I had to step out for a few minutes, but on one of your slides, it says something about the landlord does not have the right to be able to ask for financial documents. Mm-hmm. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so so the law says that you have to provide this declaration saying that you've been impacted by COVID-19. Sometimes we're seeing landlords say, like, well, prove it to me. Like, let me see your bank statement. Let me see how, where it shows that your hours have been cut. You don't have to provide any of that additional proof to them. That's a violation of the law. So we just tell people to, tell them just the declaration is all they have to provide, in that 25%, and that's it.
Jim, you reached out to kind of highlight a few pieces. I think it'd be a perfect time to share the role of, well, I'll let you speak to it.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. My name is Jim Correa from the Novato Police Department. And I just wanted to make sure, we talked earlier about the involvement of law enforcement in this. And municipal police department like Novato, and I see Sergeant Aguilar on the line, San Rafael Police Department, we really have no role in the eviction process when something like that happens. So we really want to make sure people understand that, right? And especially to the Latino community, with all the stuff going on with police and the mistrust that's there. We want to make sure people are comfortable still calling us, right? If there's a problem with their landlord, we want to make sure that that we're able to help them, we're able to protect their rights. If an eviction happens, it's really a civil process, right? Where the property owner, the owner of the apartment has to go through the courts, and then at that point, the sheriff serves a notice, and it's a civil eviction process. And the only time really a municipal police department is involved if there's a propensity for violence, where the sheriff's asked us to go with them, but 99.9% of the time we are not involved. We don't want to be a part of that. Our goal really is building that trust in our communities, where the trust needs to continue to be built, and not let that be a wedge. And frankly, the only time we're asking somebody to leave their apartment is if they are really trespassing, right? Because they don't have tenancy, they've showed up, there's a problem. But that's very, very rare. We just don't want to get in the middle of something that's really a civil issue. And the last thing we want to do is tell somebody to pack their stuff and know that they're not going to have a place to stay. So I just kind of want to mention that because it's important to us at this point. And I know, especially in the Latino community, that's, that trust part is important, and want people to know that part. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so we know that we have today until 1:30. We also want to provide and give, all the room for questions. If anyone else has any more questions, want to share anything else? Okay. Well, I think since I know we have until 1:30, I don't want to push it and ask more questions, but if no one else has questions, and if everyone's okay with it, Tahirah, thank you so much for definitely being with us today. We are recording today's meeting so we can share it with everyone else. Feel free to definitely email us back. If you have any more questions, I think Tahirah shared her contact information, so feel free to reach out to her as well. But we might release everyone early today if no one else has any more questions. And again, this marks our 8th year anniversary with Marin Latino Leader. And it's something that it's a long time, but here we are, and we're gonna keep doing this next year as well. So definitely look for emails for next year, because we are going to be sharing either the speakers or what speakers we're gonna be having for the months that are coming. All right.
Quickly, so we're going to be sharing the slide deck. Tahirah just mentioned it's okay for us to share it, as well as a recording and any other flyers or Q&As that Tahirah wants to provide to us. Any follow-up information, we will send that over to you guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I hope you have an amazing holiday and a good deserved break. And we will see you all hopefully next year. That sounds like a long time, but it's just next month. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful holidays and get some rest. Bye, everyone. Thank you for being here today.